Hello everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how you can become a data analyst. So data analyst is one of the most in-demand jobs, and because it is so much in demand, it's also one of the highest paying jobs. In fact, some of the data analysts earn an upwards of 1 crore rupees. So we're going to see what is the work of a data analyst, like what does a data analyst do. We're going to see what are the skills required to become a data analyst and where you can learn those skills. And then we're going to see where you can apply so in order to get selected by the top companies as a data analyst. So let's get into that. So first let's understand what is the work of a data analyst, or what is the area that you'll be working on as a data analyst. So data analyst comes from two words, data and analysis. That itself gives you some understanding that it's basically analysis of data, right? So what will happen is that you'll have a lot of data and then you'll have to organize that data and store it into databases. And then you'll have to manipulate the data, you'll have to edit the data, delete the data, and play around with it, manipulate it. And then you'll have to draw conclusions from the data. You'll have to draw inferences from the data. And you'll have to represent it as a graph or a pie chart or any other visual metric. So let me give you an example. So you have these companies, right? You have Coca-Cola, Pepsi, etc. So suppose Coca-Cola wants to know how their product is performing against their competitor. So Coca-Cola might want to know how their canned Coke is performing against other companies. So what will happen is that there will be a lot of data that will be collected from stores, like how many people are buying, how many people are not buying, how many people stopped buying. There will be a ton of data. You'll have to store it and you'll have to make sense out of the data. And finally, you can represent the data in form of graph. And if the graph is increasing, you can tell to Coca-Cola, hey, your sales are increasing. If the graph is decreasing, you can tell to Coca-Cola that their sales are decreasing. So this is an example of the work of a data analyst. And a lot of these companies, a lot of these product companies which are selling their product, they rely on data analysts in order to get sales advice. So based on that, based on the conclusions drawn from the data, they might have to change their marketing strategy. They might have to improve upon their marketing strategy. So the work of a data analyst is very, very important in that way. So to put it in simple words, the work of a data analyst is basically drawing conclusions from data to make sense out of data that would otherwise not make sense. So that would be your work as a data analyst. Now let's see what are the skills required in order to become a data analyst. So the skills can be divided into three parts. So there's three types of skills. There's technical skills, there's analytical skills, and there's communication skills. So let's see one by one what each of them are in depth. So let's start with technical skills. So the technical skills revolves around data because, like I said, majority of your work will be analysis of data. So in technical skills, the first thing that you need to learn is Microsoft Excel. So we've all used Microsoft Excel at least once in their life. We've all done some basic calculation, basic functions in Microsoft Excel, but there's actually more depth to Microsoft Excel than that. There's a lot of utilities in Microsoft Excel. There's a lot of functions. There's lookup function, there's graph. There's a lot of things in Microsoft Excel that you need to learn. And the easiest way to learn that is simply go on YouTube and just search Microsoft Excel full course. You'll find a lot of videos which will be of the range from 2 hours to 3 hours or 4 hours, and you can watch one of them and you'll get a good understanding of everything that there is to Microsoft Excel. So you need to be comfortable working with Microsoft Excel. You need to be confident with the functions of Microsoft Excel, which is very important for becoming a data analyst. So you need to be comfortable working with Microsoft Excel. You need to be confident with the functions used in Microsoft Excel. The next skill to learn is database. So obviously, like I said, you'll be storing the data into databases. You'll be organizing the data into databases. So you need to learn database management system, or DBMS. Or more specifically, you need to learn RDBMS, which is relational database management system. And in that, you also need to learn SQL, which is a query language. So you need to know how to make queries, you need to know how to select, insert, delete. You need to be able to write complex queries according to your need. So you need to understand database management system, RDBMS, and SQL. So the best way to learn DBMS for theoretical concepts, you can learn on YouTube. And for learning SQL, you can go to w3schools.com. w3schools.com has the best tutorials on SQL. From there, you can learn SQL completely. And you should be confident writing complex queries, writing long queries in order to manipulate the data. And you should have good knowledge of how databases work, how database management system works. So DBMS and SQL are very important skills that you need to learn. The next thing you need to learn is programming languages. So the two main programming languages that you must learn are R and Python. So Python and R are two of the most important programming languages revolving around data. So you might have heard R for data science, right? There's this very popular course, R for data science. So R is a programming language which is very much involved in data science. Likewise, Python is also a language which is very much involved in data mining, data science, and even machine learning. So you need to learn R and Python. Like in Python, you have NumPy, you have Panda, you have Matplotlib, you have a lot of things which make manipulation of data easy. So you need to learn all that, and you can just learn Python online. You can either take a course or you can just go online and learn Python. But the main things to learn in Python are NumPy and all the libraries which surround data. Likewise, you can also learn R, and you can either take a course or you can learn online. It's not that difficult, but you need to have good knowledge of Python and R. The next thing you need to have good knowledge of are some data visualization tools. So two main data visualization tools are Power BI and Tableau, and you need to learn both of them. So Tableau and like I said, Power BI, they're not very difficult to learn. You can just read about them online. They're very easy, but you need to have good knowledge of them, Power BI and Tableau, which are data visualization tools. Okay, so that's basically all there is to technical skills. Now let's come to the analytical skills. So analytical skills involves your critical thinking, it involves your research analysis, and it involves your data analysis. So let's get into them one by one. Critical thinking is basically your understanding of the problem. Like I said, Coca-Cola example, right? Coca-Cola is coming to you explaining that they have this problem, that they want to know how their product is doing. So that's a problem, right? That's a problem statement given to you. So critical thinking is how well you understand the problem. When the problem is given to you, how well you understand it, how refined your thought process is. And the best way to improve upon your critical thinking is to improve your problem solving skills. So the more problems you solve, either in the form of projects or as problem statements, the better will be your critical thinking. So to improve upon your problem solvings, do a lot of projects, try to solve a lot of real life problems, and play around with data. That will improve upon your critical thinking. Next thing, like I said, is your research analysis. Research analysis is basically doing research about the data, So like I said, when you manipulate data, the data has to come from somewhere, right? There should be some source of data. So you have to know whether the source is credible or not. Like when there's a project, you do some research, right? Where you'll acquire the data for the project, So that's basically research analysis. How well you're able to research on the topic, on the source of data. That's your research analysis skills. And obviously the next is data analysis skills, which I've talked about. It's how well you're able to play around with the data, how well you're able to understand the data, how well you're able to make conclusions from the data, how you're comfortable looking at the data. For example, when you go to the social blade of any YouTuber, suppose you go to the social blade of PewDiePie, you'll have tons of graphs, right? You'll have subscriber count, you'll have view count. So when you look at that, and if it makes sense to you, or if you look at some raw data and you're able to visualize in your mind, then that's your data analysis skills. Like how well you're able to understand the data, how comfortable you are playing with data around the concept of data. That comes under your data analysis skills. Next is your communication skills. So communication skills are important for almost every job profile, right? Even if you're a software developer, even if you're an analyst, communication skills are very, very important. Like in the term of data analyst, like I said, you'll have certain companies, certain clients which will come to you, which will, ask for conclusions based on their data. So you need to communicate those conclusions to them. Like I said in the example of Coca-Cola, you need to tell them that this is how your product is doing. So in order for that, you need to have good communication skill. So you need to have good verbal skills. So you need to have good communication skill, verbal skill, and it also involves your visualization skills. So these companies, these clients that come to you, they don't understand data, right? They need graphs to understand, they need charts to understand. Like I said in Social Blade, when you go to any profile of any YouTuber, it does not show you data. It shows you the visualization of that data. It doesn't show you that this is the data, you make sense out of it. It shows you the visualization. So you need to make these dashboards for these companies where they can see the graphs, where they can see the charts, so that they can understand the data. So you also need to have good visualization skills as part of your communication skill. So you need to be a good communicator, you need to have good visualization skills, which are very important in order to become a data analyst. So Now that we've covered the skills part, like what were the technical, analytical, communication skills, the next thing, like I said, is applying to companies, right? So first thing, before you apply to companies, you should have a good resume, and in the resume you should highlight these skills that I mentioned. You need to highlight these keywords, like these tools that you have learned, these skills that you've learned. You need to highlight them in your resume. Next thing is you need to have some good projects. So you need to have some good projects around data analysis. For example, when COVID hit, there were a lot of news websites that published data, that published live data of how many people are affected, how many people, have been affected by COVID. And a lot of students use that data to make their own projects. Like that, you can go on Kaggle. So Kaggle is a website which is all about data science. So you can take some data set from Kaggle, like you can take some data set and then you can have your own project based on that data set. And then you can take some certification, you can take some courses. I highly suggest taking some courses for data analytics. I'll also give you links to a few courses in the description. So you need to have a good project, right, which shows that you've learned data analysis, which shows that you've learned the skills which are required to become a data analyst. You need to show that in your resume. The next thing to do is apply, right? Once you have the resume ready, the next thing to do is apply. So you can go to various websites, like you can go to LinkedIn, you can go to these job portals, and then you can search in the keyword job profile as data analyst. And there's a lot of companies that are looking for data analysts pretty much all the time. You can either send out your resume or you can apply to them. And once they see that you have a good resume, you'll get a call for interview, and then you can interview with them, crack them, and get the job. So that's like a general overview of how you can become a data analyst. And data analyst is a very good job profile. Right now it's currently booming, there's a lot of data analysts needed. It's pretty much in demand. And like I said, it's a very high paying job. It's one of the most high paying jobs as of now. So if you learn the skills necessary, if you make the correct projects, if you make a great resume and you put out your resume, then definitely you'll get selected as a data analyst. One more thing is there, once you have the skills of a data analyst, then it'll be easier for you to migrate to or to enter the field of data science, which is something as good as data analysis. So it'll be easier for you to jump to the field of data science. And once you learn the skills of a data analyst, there'll be lots of opportunities for you. You'll have lots of opportunities to apply to different companies, to grow in your career, and it is basically a really great thing. So that's pretty much it. If you have any doubts about all of this, then feel free to leave it in the comments. I'll be sure to answer. Thank you.